are here with James Woods, Owlman in Justice League Crisis on Tours. So, James, I have to start off. What is it about your voice that makes you such a good villain?
You know, I don't know, because when I first started doing the character, I have to say I had a completely different take on it.
Really?
And the lovely Andrea actually came up with a way of doing it better. She said, I love your voice, just don't do anything. I said, okay. Because somebody gives you a compliment, you kind of follow what they say. But she actually, I have to say, is a wonderful director, and she had a very, a really nice take on how this would be, that he was a very existential, despairing kind of guy. And, you know, usually villains are up to something. They have these big aspirations, but he's the first one I've ever encountered that was a guy who was so completely bereft of hope.
So with a character like Owlman, who's kind of the anti-Batman, do you look at how people portray Batman and try to do something kind of similar, or?
Well, there's a temptation to do that, but you know, oddly enough, when you look at what Christian Bale did when in Dark Knight, he had a very restrained voice. I mean, I was watching, I thought, it was after, I actually didn't see, even though my friend Chuck Roven produced it, I hadn't seen A Dark Knight until after I did Owlman.
Oh, okay.
I said, I've never seen it, I should watch it sometime. And I was watching it on TV, I said, oh my God, we actually kind of sounded alike. It was just a coincidence, I guess, you know, that, you know, the people have had great loss, you know, and I think that both the characters have that in common.
What is it that draws you to voice acting? You've done a few different voice acting projects. Is there something in particular about it that is freeing to you as an actor?
Well, one of the things that people who aren't familiar with how the process works that's compelling to the actor is that we oftentimes get to do a lot of the creation. I'm not saying that we're writing the scripts per se, but you know, my first big sort of break into voice work was when I did Hades and Hercules, and then did the series. And there was so much ad-libbing that was done in that 2-year period when we did the movie. And then they do the animation after you do the voices. So you get to contribute a lot. Now sometimes when they're tightly scripted the way Justice League is right here, you don't get a lot of opportunity to improvise, but in many of the things that I've done, like when I do Family Guy, my God, I improvise so much with Seth. We get to do a lot of that. You know, they allow it because usually the producers of the shows are also the principal writers, the way television works. So if they're confident, they allow you to kind of go with it. And if you're a pretty good improviser, which I've been fortunate enough to have a little luck with that, you know, they kind of go with it. You know, a lot of times, if they're not so confident, or if it's tightly scripted in the sense of structure, then you can't change much, because if you ad-lib or improvise something and it throws the plot off or the structure off, you got to do a lot of rewriting. But with the fun stuff, you know, the character stuff, you can feather a lot of it in.
Were there any moments in this script that you came to and you said, "Wow, what?" or I can't believe they're doing this in animation, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me most was how completely internal the despair of Owlman's despair was. Okay. And the fact that they kind of went along with it. But she said, you know, less. I thought, well, okay. I mean, you know, I always like to defer to a director, because, you know, it's always good to have an outside point of view. I thought, well, I'm not so sure she's right, but then when I started to see it pieced together, I thought she was really a lot. I mean, but I wouldn't have done it that way, so I give her a lot of credit.
I don't have time for this. I need that data. Take them down.